Good morning, everybody. Welcome once again to BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, all I got to say is, wow, what a weekend, dude.
That was a heck of a weekend. A lot went down in a short amount of time.
Just a little bit, man.
All across the country in professional bass fishing.
Now, we had this discussion about how cool it would be if both entities did not have their events during the same week. You had two pretty crazy situations take place. One extremely crazy, one that I have never seen before, and we're going to get into it, that took place with the FLW Tour on Kentucky Lake involving Mr. Randy Haynes and Jason Lambert. We will get into that. But a very, very unique situation of which social media has been a buzz. And then you have Bass Fest taking place down at Lake Travis, where Drew Benton gets it done in a very, very interesting development with him being thrown into the penalty box.
Yeah. I mean, he got a 15-minute penalty, but in the grand scheme of things, some interesting stuff came out of that is relatable to what happened on the ledges at Kentucky Lake.
What the hell are you wearing?
I'm wearing a shirt with pink flamingos on
Even
it.
Josh in Missouri is commenting on that shirt and wants to know what the hell you're doing.
No, I'm wearing it with pride.
How can you bear in public a shirt with pink flamingos on it?
It's called self-confidence, Jeffries. It's a comfortable shirt.
It is
It's
not
heavy,
a fashion
heavy
statement.
twill
That's all I
cotton.
have to say. What's
It
up
looks
with Matt's
good.
shirt? I agree. Anyway, so
I'm sorry, I didn't know there was a dress code. I didn't know you
There's-
had to wear a collared striped Nike shirt to every
this is
single
not,
BTL
I've never
in
seen
history.
anybody wear a pink flamingo shirt.
I've never seen anybody wear striped Nike polos every day of their life.
That's funny. I was at Baccalaureate last night and somebody was wearing one.
What is baccalaureate?
You do not know what baccalaureate is. Google that one up.
What is it?
You have no idea. It is a ceremony that takes place the night prior to graduation.
How many
For my
ceremonies are there for your kid to graduate high school? I mean, did he get his doctorate or did he graduate high school?
I'm wore out. Tonight is graduation.
What all is there? You've been to, there's what, luncheons?
Senior luncheon, senior breakfast, senior dinner, senior awards banquet, baccalaureate, senior athletic luncheon.
That's
How many
six.
is that? And then
we haven't even gotten to the actual graduation.
and then graduation is tonight.
I saw him walk out of the house today through our studio window carrying his cap and gown.
Yeah, they had some breakfast luncheon thing, I think at the Archdiocese. Or
So
something.
8 things
If not more.
to graduate high school.
If not more.
What did you have when you graduated
Dude,
high school?
I showed up. We had our senior prank. I don't know if we really need to get into this, but
What'd you
that
do
was
for your
quite-
senior prank?
It was epic. We always had this thing the day before graduation where the seniors would get up on stage and they would talk about what high school and what Brethren High School meant to each student. We didn't want to do that. So the night before, we wedged open the back door. Nobody had a key, obviously. Wedged the back door. There was no alarm on there.
Went
Went inside. It was not the 50s. It was in the 80s, knucklehead. The back door was unlocked. There was about a group of 7 of us that went in there. They had the auditorium completely set up with folding chairs. We took every single folding chair, stacked them in one ginormous pile on the stage to where the entire floor had no chairs. Every single chair was stacked up on the floor. And then we let about 8 dogs just roam around in there overnight.
Okay.
Not good. For the first time in the 80-year history of the school, that ceremony did not take place, and they threatened not to graduate that senior class unless the people that did it came forward. All the way up until we walked down the aisle, and we never came forward and said
And they
anything.
still let you walk.
Yeah.
It's an
What are
empty
they gonna
threat.
do? Yeah.
You know who doesn't give empty threats?
Yeah.
Randy Haynes. He follows through on what he says he's going to do.
Man, all right. Let's go ahead and jump into that. Folks, we reached out. I reached out for Randy Haynes to see if he would like to come on this show and explain that whole process. I spoke to Randy for about 30 minutes on the phone Sunday evening, and he graciously declined the offer to come on here. But I do have a tablet full of notes of which we can touch on some of the subjects. Here's the bottom line with Randy. He wants to move on. What, Matthew?
Should I explain what he wants to move on from?
Yes,
just
go
briefly.
ahead,
Do you have that queued up, or are we not gonna...
Yeah. We can go there.
Let's go there first to
Yeah.
set the table, just in case you've been living under a rock. FLW
Yeah.
Tour event taking place on Kentucky Lake. Fish finally moved out to the ledges. Two of the best in the business: Jason Lambert, Randy Haynes. 1-2 going into the weekend. Randy Haynes had about a 2-pound lead on Jason Lambert. They both end up at the same spot on the morning of the third morning.
Who was leading?
Randy Haynes was leading.
Randy Haynes was leading.
Jason Lambert gets to the spot first, and this will all be explained. This is 30 seconds. This is the Cliff Notes version. They rub rails for a couple minutes. Lambert catches a couple. Randy Haynes says, quote, "I'm taking it to the damn house." And by that, he meant put it on the boat trailer and drive home to Mississippi.
All right, and here's the footage courtesy of
Leading the
FLW, our good friend Joe. Here's what went down on FLW Live.
Welcome to our FLW Tour coverage here on Kentucky Lake, presented by Costa Sunglasses. We have hyped up the Haynes-Lambert Ledge Showdown all week long, and today, day 3, it came to a head first thing this morning. These anglers made the run. They blasted off number 1 and number 2, and they went to the exact spot, as you can see right here, and this is what followed.
Or you can quit trying to cut me off. We could just both fish it and quit arguing about it.
You ain't got nowhere else to go, so you're gonna start here. Tell you what, you can have it. I'm finna go to the damn house. I gotta go to work anyhow.
Well, that was interesting. That was interesting. Never in my entire fishing career have I had anything like that to happen. And it is, it's real hard not to lose your cool. But, hey, it is what it is. It cost me the other fish, though, because he was pressing me so hard. I was afraid to get the net because he'd slide back in on it. But it's all right. It's all good. I ain't got nothing bad to say about Randy. I've known Randy for 20-something years. He's a good ledge fisherman. One of the best probably. And it's frustrating. It was frustrating for me yesterday morning when I ran down here and he was sitting on it. But, I mean, we all got good electronics. This is a community hole. It's not a secret hole.
All right, there you have it. That's what went down on Kentucky Lake. And I've seen a few situations in my on-the-water coverage over the years, but I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before.
That was very civil, but very abrupt. And he did. He put it on the trailer. He headed home, and Randy ended up, Lambert ended up catching 30 and 28 and winning the tournament.
Blown away.
Like 30 pounds.
Yeah, blown away the field.
And he won last time when they were there in 2016. But Randy Haynes went home. And then I was reading where he said he would have come back and had launched his boat on the final day if he had finished in the top 10. Just so he wouldn't basically get DQ'd for the whole rest of the year, because you have to go look at the point standings, and Randy Haynes is in the top 20 in the FLW Tour point standings.
Yeah,
so he's going to come back, fish St. Clair, and then make the Cup, and then who knows what he's going to do from then on out. So
yeah, he is an iconic ledge angler on that body of water.
And Pickwick too. I mean, that whole, you look at as his 7 wins with FLW, and 6 of them are on Pickwick or Kentucky Lake. The other one coming on Eufaula, but that May and June time frame is where the majority of his wins come. And you look at Lambert and his wins, he's got 1 in Okeechobee, I believe, but his other 5 wins are on Pickwick and Kentucky Lake in the exact same time of the year. So.
Yeah. I received numerous emails for people requesting to get Randy on the show. So what I did reach out to Randy, as I mentioned, prior to us showing the video, and he graciously declined coming on. He really just wants to move past this thing. I talked to him for about 30 minutes, man, and the interesting fact is, when we were talking and discussing what went down, this thing can go 12,000 different directions. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the general feedback that is on social media, that's on YouTube, that's on, message boards and everything, it's split about 50-50. A lot of people are giving him a hard time for taking it to the house. Mm-hmm.
Leaving the money on the table.
Just, quitting. Mm-hmm. Calling him a quitter, calling him, hey, how come you couldn't just went and fished someplace else and stuff like that. And in my discussion with Randy, he's very old school, very seasoned. And I posed the question to him. I said, Randy, I think it would be good for you to come on the show and explain your viewpoint. And he said, look, Mark, he said, if people don't understand what I did, they probably will never understand. And me being seasoned and old and weathered, I totally understand what he's getting. I think a lot of people out there don't understand why he did what he did. And folks, I'm telling you, there have been situations in my life where I've just turned away rather than get into a confrontation and getting to the point where it was going to do more damage than good. And so many times, and I hate to refer this back to coaching, but there are some similarities. Sometimes when you're coaching and you get so frustrated with a referee's call that maybe it's a critical point in the game where the game is on the line and the dude in stripes makes some bonehead call and you absolutely want to go DEFCON 5 on him. But it makes your school look bad. It makes you look bad. You get a bad reputation. It's not a good example for your players to follow. You try to do it in a professional manner. And after talking to him, it's just my opinion. Not what he said, just my opinion. I truly believe that the reason that Randy Haynes did what he did not want to get into any type of confrontation on the water or off the water with Jason Lambert. Now, people will ask, well, Mark, I don't understand. How come he just didn't go fish somewhere else? The reason is that emotion and the way that he felt from a pissed off standpoint. Who's to know that after an hour, 2 hours, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, that he may got to a boil. I'm not going to take this. I'm going to go confrontation with Jason. But in discussions that I've had with Randy, I think that's why he did it. I think that's why he just took it to the house, because he made, and I'm going to quote him here, he said, I have a very fortunate life and a very great life. I did not want to embarrass the sport. It just totally defeated losing the situation, he just said, screw it, I'm going to go to the house.
Mm-hmm.
Money is obviously not the high priority for him. He's very successful in his business. Kentucky Lake standpoint, just my opinion after speaking with him, that the reason that he did what he did is he did not want to get into any kind of confrontation on the water or off the water, and he felt the best way to do that was just go to the house and see his kids and wife and go back to work. What are your thoughts, Matthew?
Well, immediately when we talked, obviously said, man, there's 12 different ways you can look at this, and you can make a fair point for every different way, from Randy being 100% in the wrong to Lambert being 100% in the wrong, to each being 50% in the blame, to no one being wrong and the situation just happening, to a mixture. There's so many different elements in play. Then you have to get into the unwritten rules. Randy was leading the tournament, and it wasn't after day 2. It was after day 2 going into day 3. So are there unwritten rules about giving the tournament leader a spot?
There is.
But it was also, Lambert had been fishing that, and it's not like he was in 30th. He was in 2nd place. And so, and you can take the unwritten rules and go both ways with them. You can take what happened and go both ways with it. So what I decided to do was I called up, and I'm not going to name them, I called up 3 or 4 guys on the FLW Tour that I respect, top guys who catch them, who've been around the game for a long time. And I said, dude, off the record, I'm not going to talk about who you are specifically. What are your thoughts on this deal? And I talked to 4 different guys. All 4 different guys had drastically different. I'm not kidding.
I did the same
All
thing,
four
dude.
different guys had
I did the same
drastically
thing.
different opinions on what happened.
Yeah.
One said, man, Randy Haynes needs to grow a tougher skin. This is tournament bass fishing with the money on the line. He backup plans, man. If I quit every time I shared a spot with some dude, I would be quitting every tournament. Another guy said, man, Randy was leading the tournament by 2 pounds. It's an unwritten rule. Lambert knew where he was going. Lambert had other places he could catch fish. He knew that was Randy Haynes' #1 spot, and he intentionally went there first because he knew it would screw Randy Haynes, and he completely disregarded the unwritten rule, which is after day 2, you give the leader his space.
Yeah.
Then I called another guy. He said, dude, I have no idea what to think about this. He said, at first, I was like, man, Randy Haynes is a crybaby. Then I was like, man, Jason Lambert has no ethics. Do them both. He thought, but they didn't break any rules. No one should be DQ'd.
Yeah.
And that's where he is right now. He doesn't know what to think.
Yeah.
It's just completely across the board. And we could have an hour-long discussion on unwritten rules and tournament ethics. We could have, this thing can go a million different ways, which is why I think it's good. But with what Randy Haynes did, I think it does draw light to several issues in the sport that happen quite regularly in tournament competition, but are diffused because a lot of these guys, they're not going to talk bad about other anglers. They have sponsors. They're not going to bring negative light and talk about this stuff with sponsors on their jersey and stuff. It's stuff that's swept under the rug, and a lot of it goes under what you like to talk about, which is locker room talk, stuff that stays in the locker room. And a lot of the stuff is out of the locker room now because of FLW Live and because of Bass Live.
Right.
I mean, otherwise, this would have gone down and it would have just been a press release afterwards and people would have gone, that's weird. But you've got FLW Live. They're hyping it up on the ledges. Here it all is. Everyone tunes in to watch it. Yeah. And Randy Haynes is driving down the highway.
No, you're right, man. You're right. And the fact of the matter is it could go 12,000 different directions. It really could. Now, you and I have witnessed what I call brokering deals numerous times on the Elite Series, where guys will get together, behind stage, over in the boat parking lot, wherever it is, and they talk about going into day 3 and day 4 if there's an area that both anglers have been targeting. Most of the time, from what I've seen, most of the time deals get cut.
Absolutely.
You agree with that?
Yeah, I remember, real quick, I remember we're sitting there at the Mississippi River. This was a couple years ago, back when Zell, I think it was Zell, was fishing the Elite Series still.
Yeah.
Matt Herron has his boat pulled up on the bank. He's sitting on the ground underneath a tree. It was scorching hot that time of the year. I'm like, what's up, Matt? He's like, oh, just waiting. I go, what are you waiting on? He goes, oh, I'm waiting on Mr. Zell rolling. Me and him are going to have a little chat, and I'm just waiting under this shade tree here for him to get Zell checked in. Matt went down. They got in the boat. They had a 5-minute talk. They hashed out what it was about the spot. I was just interested in seeing what was going on, and Matt came up. He's like, man, we handle it like adults. They got it taken care of. He loaded his boat, went home, never heard anything else about it. That goes on every single tournament.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying there's too many unwritten rules in this game. Hey, there's a lot of unwritten rules in every single sport.
Right.
There really is. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to think of any other situation that I could compare it to. And the only one that I came up with, and you're way too young to remember this, there was a tennis player back in the 70s. He kind of hung around a little bit in the 80s. His name was Eli Nastasi.
Never heard of him.
His nickname was Nasty.
Oh, I could see why.
And he was a punk. He was from Romania, had a massive temper, and I don't remember if it was the French Open or the Australian Open. He was actually in the semifinals. I mean, he was on his way, rocking it. I think he was playing against Connors, if I remember. Not sure on that. But he was so pissed off at the linesman and the umpire. Mm-hmm. They're called umpires in tennis, the dudes or tennis. Ladies that sit in the chair. He was so pissed off at them that he threw his racket at the net, picked it up, busted it into a zillion, took his bag, and left.
Wow.
And that's the only thing that I could even come close to comparing to what went down. And even though it wasn't a position of him being in first place, still kind of a unique situation. And even back in the 70s with no social media and really no cable TV or anything like that, that was a huge story. On this situation, I think you make a great point, Matthew, about the factor of FLW Live, because for the most part, it would have been a blog post. It would have been, a blurb in the story, and that's about it. And boom, we go on down the road. I think there is one unwritten rule, and I know a lot of people don't like the unwritten rules, as I mentioned. But if you are leading an event, I think it really doesn't matter. You take priority on that. The priority goes to the guy that's leading it. That's just my opinion.
But at what cost then?
Most of the tournament guys that I have spoken with agree with that statement. Now, a vast majority of them too, Matthew, said that a deal would be cut prior to that situation ever taking place on the water.
Right. Now, I don't know about the conversations they had off the water. Did Randy mention to you whether they had any conversations on what was going to happen on day 3? Did Lambert go up and say, listen, I've got a faster boat than you. I'm going to start on this spot. I'm just letting you know?
Yeah, there was no conversation.
No conversation. Mm-mm. So this whole situation, and if you're sure there's no conversation before, this whole situation could have been either diffused or come to a head off camera had those two...
Maybe.
Said, hey, had Lambert said, hey, I just want to let you know, I fished there on day 2. I'm going to beat you because I got a faster boat. I'm starting there tomorrow. Don't be surprised when you see me there. And I'm only 2 pounds behind you in a tournament that looks like it might take 80 to 100 pounds. That's a virtual tie. There's a lot of money on the line. So you're welcome to come in and get after it with me, but I'm just letting you know I'm going to start there. That way Randy knew it was coming. Or...
I don't know. Here's a question for you, Matthew.
Right.
All right, go ahead.
I just said, a lot of things have to happen in order for it to get to this point. If you think about it, if Lambert doesn't catch him, if Haynes doesn't catch him, if they find a different spot, if they have there's so many different things that had to happen for this to go down the way that it did. It's kind of crazy. All
right, you kind of know the moxie that I have. I mean, I don't like backing down from anything. I get pissed off. I get angry.
Sometimes completely pointlessly. But anyway,
I agree with that. How much damage could have been done to Randy if he just would have went DEFCON 5 in that situation?
Absolutely. And based on what he said to you, it sounds like, and I know this sounds crazy, it sounds like he made the right decision, because out of this whole deal, I don't feel like Randy Haynes' reputation has been irreparably damaged. I don't feel like Jason Lambert's reputation has been damaged. I don't feel like FLW's reputation has been damaged. Do you?
No, I agree.
So in the long run, with what he did, the potential for so many bad things to happen for the organization and both anglers, everybody comes out okay. Now, Randy Haynes has a little bit of a lighter pocketbook.
You know, and some people are going to continue to label him a certain way because of what he did.
And people label Lambert a certain way because of what he did.
And that's just part of it. That is part of being on either one of these tours is the ability to accept criticism.
Right. And we should also point out that, I mean, I haven't met either one of these anglers before. Have you? In person? I mean, you're not like buddies. It's not like we go out and hang out with these guys or have any affiliation with them. We're looking at this completely unbiased. So, but do you want to kind of right now draw the tie back into what happened at Bass Fest on the final day that kind of was interesting
and it was kind of behind the scenes. I mean, some people may have picked up on it.
Right now, it's in their story. It's in their final day story.
Okay.
And I'll just read this. Obviously, congrats to Drew Benton. Picks up his first Elite Series win. Bass Fest started the year off kind of sucky and can, gradually improve. So he gets the win this week. He's in the Bassmaster Classic. The 2019 Bassmaster Classic adds to his FLW win. But on the final day at Travis, where a lot of the big fish were getting caught early, Benton had a rules infraction, which you found out was he took the majority of his weight off of the boat to land a fish.
Real quick, I want to say thanks to Dave Preck, the director for media communications for Bass. He did send me an email back, responded to my request to get clarification on why Drew Benton was in the penalty box. And they have a rule of which if the majority of your weight is not in the boat when you go to land a fish, then you're going to receive some type of penalty. Based upon the footage that they looked at, they deemed that it was just worth 15 minutes in the penalty box.
And folks, this all will eventually relate back to Lambert, Haynes, and FLW. So I'm just going to read the final day. Thomas Allen wrote the article, the final day when Drew Benton, who was leading after day 3, had a small lead. Marty Robinson also made the top 12 cut. And this is what it said. It said after a minor rules infraction, he, Drew Benton, had to endure a 15-minute delay at takeoff, which he feared would impact his morning bite. It was a stupid mistake on my part, he said, but over the past couple of days, I was catching my best fish during the first 15 to 20 minutes of the morning in a marina up Lake Travis. I was sharing my water with Marty Robinson, and he graciously agreed to let me have that area to myself, even after I sat in the penalty box for 15 minutes. That was huge, and I'm grateful he worked with me. Benton was sure to acknowledge Robinson's generosity and sacrifice, although he later found out that the marina sucked that day. That's not what I said, but basically found out that the bite wasn't on. I'm confident the weather this morning really suppressed the shad activity and had the bass feeding so heavily. Anyway, so that's what Marty Robinson did. He had been fishing it too, and he said, got that spot.
Yeah, and he had a shot to win.
Yeah.
Being an outside shot.
A lot of people had a shot to win on that lake when you consider, how many 8 to 10 pounders were swimming around and how tough it was to get a limit. So.
All right. So now flip it around. Is that what you were going to do? Flip it to the Haynes?
Yeah, well, I'm just saying
Lambert
it's just the way, it's just one, hey, man, I know that's our spot. You're leading the tournament. That's yours, man. I'll go fish something else. Don't worry about it. I'll stay off of that today, is what Lambert could have done. Or, I mean, you wouldn't have faulted Marty Robinson if he was like, guy shouldn't have gotten a penalty. This is a competition. What do you do when you take a penalty? The other team's got a power play. I've got the marina to myself for 20 minutes. If I catch an 8-pounder, Bass Fest could be mine, and I'm headed to the Classic.
You're right.
It almost goes back to the sharing baits with your competitors discussion that we've had. At what point do you... It's a competitive, hey, I've got a faster boat. I know I can get here, and I fished here, and that's the money spot. Of course I'm going to go there.
But I'm going to go back to the unwritten rule. I'm sorry for everybody that does not understand the unwritten rule going into day 3. If you are leading the tournament, it doesn't matter. You get choice. That's the unwritten rule.
That is the unwritten rule, and I've actually talked with Gerald Swindle about this. I've mentioned it on the show before. Swindle says, hey, I feel like I've got a legit shot to maybe win a tournament once every 2 years going into the weekend. And I understand how tough it is to win, and I put myself in the position of if I, when I have that shot, I want every chance that I have to win that tournament because those opportunities don't come around. You don't know if you're ever going to get it again or not. So when someone else is in that position and I'm in that area, I'm going to give it to them because I know that when it comes to my turn, I'm going to be set up to have every chance that I can to win my tournament. And it's kind of a symbiotic relationship that works like that. Hey, we both fish these areas. You got the better of me. I'll go find greener pastures. Have at it. Good luck.
With all of this taking place, I'm just really curious how long it will be for both organizations to go back Kentucky Lake. Is this going to be the last time that both Bass and FLW? It's going to be a while.
Well, I mean, what are you just never going to have ledge tournaments? I mean, dude, we're about to see some crazy stuff go down at the Sabine River in a couple weeks.
That's not what I'm saying.
For the Elite Series.
I could care less, but I'm curious just with the
Asian carp and the low fish population. Well, dude, it took over 100 pounds to win.
That's one dude.
But it still took over 100 pounds to win.
Out of how big is the field?
180.
I mean, that's
no,
not
I
very
agree.
good.
And I talked a lot, and they said that you either catch tiny fish or you catch big fish.
Yeah.
That there's several year classes of fish completely missing out of the lake.
I think this will be one of the most discussed, unless something else crazy happens, probably one of the most discussed topics in the game of professional bass fishing.
This year for sure.
Yeah.
Look back
the
on
whole
it.
Somebody, I actually got an email from somebody that said, hey, Jeffrey, set up a one-on-one live with Haynes versus
Lambert and Haynes. You can fish this little box.
But that's not going to happen. So I appreciate Randy giving me the time to speak with him on the phone Sunday night. And, he just wants to move on. That's the bottom line. Matthew, he's not even looking at his phone. He's not looking at the internet. He's just trying to stay away with it. Said, look, man, I'm going to go to St. Clair. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to stay with some guys. We're going to go up there and catch some, huge smallmouth and then just move on.
There you go. Well, let's move on.
Now, what's been lost in this whole entire thing, and I've got to mention, is how badass Mr. Lambert was in catching how much weight over 4 days?
Over 100 pounds, 102 pounds.
I mean, how crazy is that?
He won by 30 pounds. Almost
That's
30
insane.
pounds. Yeah, he blew the field away. And on the last day, he did you not expect him to maybe do a Tim Horton at Champlain? Catch him,
pizza run?
Yeah, catch him 3 or 4 and then go back and sit at the ramp. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. And he goes out
trying to catch 40.
Absolutely smashes them again. Sets a record for the winning weight at Kentucky Lake. The record for the winning margin in FLW. I mean, dialed in on multiple spots.
Yeah.
When everyone else was really struggling. I mean, they caught him on the last day too. I mean, can you imagine coming in with a 20-pound bag, as tough as Kentucky Lake was for the field, a 20-pound bag, and you lose 10 pounds on the leader?
I know.
That would be nuts.
I think that's what has gotten lost through this whole situation is how good that win was and how much weight that he caught.
I know we're going to break, but you know what else has been lost?
What's that?
There's the fact that Sheldon Collins has gone back-to-back checks. He now has $22,000 in his pocket. 20th place at Smith, 46th place at Kentucky Lake, and he is now in 22nd place in the Angler of the Year points and leading the Rookie of the Year race on the FLW Tour.
He's rocking it, man. Nice job. I give it up to him. He's had success.
All right.
It's very impressive.
What are we talking about when we come back?
All right, we're going to take a break. I have my breakdown on the Elite Series after 4 events. We're going to talk about that and then talk about the special second show that we're going to have today. We're going to have a live guest right here in studio. We're going to make an announcement on something that I believe is a first for the industry. Can't
Now, you
wait.
haven't announced who it is, but there are multiple framed pictures of him in the studio. So that narrows it down. I mean, we're either going to have Preston Clark in here, or Kevin Worth, or Wayne Gretzky.
They got Jeff Creed over there,
Jeff
too.
Creed, Ike Delly.
They got a Bill Dance hat over there,
Bill
too.
Dance.
Signed Bill Dance hat.
Aaron Martin's Hackney. There's a Larry Bird over there. It's one,
Oh, I wish Larry Bird was in studio.
or maybe it's none of those.
Maybe it's none of those. All right, everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back.
We can put an absolute smackdown on the bass in a 3-hour period,
There is going to be pressure.
playing by their rules.
I'm fishing against Mike McClellan, who has won way more than I have.
I'm absolutely going to smoke him.
This one-on-one live on May 30th at 10 o'clock in the morning, it will all be about execution.
Yeah, you want to beat your buddy.
I just want to catch that extra 5-pounder or two so I can say I'm the one-on-one champ on May 30th.
Creed's got a lot of bad. I mean, that's just all there is to it. I mean, he's sloppy, his truck's a mess.
See, look, he's already got a call. This guy's so famous, that's somebody else calling him for an interview.
It's on.
Got it.
The most versatile fishing machine on Earth. Unparalleled resolution and clarity, with more agility, lightning speed, and brute strength. HDS Carbon takes rapid response performance and screen technology to an all-new level. Maximized power, maximized visibility. See Structure Scan 3D, new dual chirp sonar, new live network sonar, and more mapping options, all at the same time and faster than ever before. Pros depend on hydraulic jack plates to get the best out of their do what they do. Demand Atlas performance. Atlas gets you from the bottom to the top in less than turn right around and get that heavy load back up in rough water. Atlas's innovative design and American-made components will get you there with confidence.
I'm at Depot. Just look for yourself. There's an Atlas jack plate on just about every professional's boat.
The Atlas hydraulic jack plate. You can depend on it.
My rods look different because they are different. Every rod is built by the pros and for the pros. When you pick up a white Duffet fishing rod, you're getting a cutting-edge rod, one that's truly pro-driven, with the actions you need for every bait category you fish. I put my name on it. It's my promise to build you a great rod you can count on.
Ducket Fishing, Micro Magic, Macro Magic.
Carbon is the choice of champions. The clearest, most visible screens and killer new features to deal. Save up to $500 when you buy a qualifying HDS Carbon in the Ultimate Upgrade Sales event before May 31st.
Hey guys, Russ Lane, Bassmaster Elite Series Pro. Man, I am so excited to be joining the AFCO Pro staff. They got some really cool, innovative products to help you have a more enjoyable, comfortable day while you're out there on the water. Really stylish, great functional clothing. You're gonna love it. The thing I'm most excited about though is AFCO has pledged to donate 10% of their total profits back to supporting the conservation of our fisheries. And I am all about supporting a company that's about supporting conservation so that we can enjoy our bass fishing for a long time. Check us out, AFCO.
Jacob Wheeler and Tommy Biffle have a lot in common.
Flat bill. The perfect shape.
You gotta love some light tackle.
I know I have a spinning rod.
I love my hammer crawl.
Biffle bug.
Rig.
On a hardhead.
Well, they could be twins. Bifflebug, Hammer Crawl, Hardhead, from Gene LaRue.
Let me help you, man.
Let me help that hat.
Whoa, whoa.
There you go. I already look better.
When I talk about Sunline, I think of one word, confidence.
Sunline FX2 is what I use for all of my frogging and flipping.
S6 offshore ledges.
We have taken the questions out of the equation.
Take my word for it. It works. It works, dude.
X and being positive not important
Yeah,
too?
that's why. Did I put the losers at the top of the list? I
no,
did not.
but you always start at the bottom anyway.
I'm not going to start at the bottom. All right,
I'm just saying, you
let me
could
throw
have
this
highlighted
out
the-
here. All right, hang on a minute here. Let me get this queued up.
Prepare for negative stats.
All right, it's just a standard worksheet. I got to get my mic in position so I can talk here. All right, what I did was, and dude, this took a lot of time to do. I went in, actually broke down, and the place of finish for the first 4 events. Now, what kind of skews this a little bit is the fact that everybody got a check in Travis.
Mm-hmm.
Every single player got a check.
Right. Those are for what?
3,500 was a minimum.
Yeah.
So what this list use the box. See where the box is? All right.
Yeah.
That's their total earnings at their local bank on Monday. That 54,000. He's got a second, a 25th, 14th, and then very surprising finish at the very first event, 95th. Now, your current angler of the year is at 52,000, and Brett Chapman is just lights out this year so far, man. He's got a 5th, a 9th, a 29th, and
All
a
top
19th.
30s.
That's impressive. And for those people that may not remember, he was your Elite Series Angler of the Year back in what year, Matthew?
2012.
It's been 5 years?
Yes.
Wow.
Remember we had him on and talked about it?
Yeah. So he's at 52,000. So just kind of, let's go down to 20th is Keith Combs. He's at 34,000. You have a very large group that is bunched up between, I'd say, 34,000 and 20,000.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look where you go. You have to go all the way at 21,000. Now, what's the break-even point? 4 events.
Well, the entry fees for the entire year, if you pay them up front through 9 events, is $42,000.
Okay, what if you don't do that, though? Not too many people have a $42,000 check that they're just...
It's like 5,000 something. A lot of guys actually do because they give you a break.
Oh, I know. You get the discount.
Yeah,
but
it's
I
like
think it's 5,500?
Yeah, 55 or 5,300 a tournament.
Okay, so that's 11 grand. 22 grand is break even just in entry fees. So
as far as just through the first
4. Now, it doesn't count. Obviously, I'm not putting in open earnings, and I didn't put the classic earnings.
So what'd
there
you say? What is it?
Because
20 what?
The classic earnings are basically
How much
from
through the
last
first
year.
4? 23?
22,000.
Yeah. So holy cow, 57 have paid for their entry fees
for the first 4 events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's half the field, over half the field.
Yeah. Now throw in another 4 events. Basically, we figure it $2 grand per event. So that's another 8,000. So bump it up to 30 grand.
Okay. So out of 108 at 30 grand, can we do the 28,000? Let's say 28,000. There might be some guys who are beanie weenie fans and camping.
Now they still got gas and
Okay.
everything else and all the other expenses
All
that
right,
go
so
along.
30,
with it.
31.
I'm just going to say 30. Yeah, so you have 31 guys that are breaking even right now.
And we're not talking. This is zero sponsorship. This is strictly on fishing and
Totally
expenses
based
and
on
tournament earnings.
Yeah.
So 31,000.
Yeah.
So there's 31 guys.
Yeah. So you can
That's
kind of
31,000.
I'm going to scroll it back up to the top. You can kind of get an idea on your top 12 there.
Okay, so let's say the season is 5 months old. No, let's do February, March, April, and May. 4 months.
Okay.
Right. So what? A normal job. Let's say you're making. What if you're flipping burgers? You're making what? No, seriously, you're making $2,000 a month, right?
Why? Flipping burgers?
Yeah, make $500 a week.
Maybe in New York City.
Let's
or
just
LA.
say that. Let's just say that you're making $500 a week, so that's $2,000 a month. I know that's low end.
Dude, why did you pick flipping burgers?
Or whatever.
Why do you not say a college graduate who is in an entry-level manager
I was
position?
actually going to go your way more, but
So why did you go flipping burgers?
because
No,
I was going for a
just do it.
burger. How many of these guys are not making
Dude, just
based
go,
on winning?
Just go a normal job, a auto mechanic, a manager for a retail
go
company.
for it.
Just
What
say
a
typically,
month? $5,000 a month?
Probably. I'll go low. Probably $4,000 a month.
4. Okay, so
Yeah.
4, 8, 9, $16,000 for those 4 months.
Yeah.
So you've got 30. So you're looking at anything over $45,000.
Actually, it's 20. It's 5 months because this is through May. You see what I'm saying?
Right, but they didn't have any tournaments in January.
It doesn't matter. You're talking
Yeah, but they
about-
didn't have to go to work
yeah, but
in
your
January.
dude that's flipping the burgers or whatever, he still got paid in January.
Fine. Okay, so
it's
5
months.
5 times 4, so
That's
20
$20,000.
grand.
Yeah.
So you have to make 50. What? We're at 30. You have to make 50 grand just through your earnings to be at the point at this point of the season to be making an average living salary. This is all rough, dude.
Yeah,
but just
yeah,
roll
yeah,
with
yeah.
it.
Okay, I'm rolling with it.
So outside of the guy, okay, so obviously if you've won a tournament, so we'll go 50 grand. So Cliff Pace, so 8 out of the 110 have earned 50 grand, which would be the equivalent of, what'd you say, $4,000 a month.
Yeah.
And out of that, there's only 4 that haven't won a tournament. About 4 have, so you can't just drop them out. But 8 out of the 110, so less than 10% of the field is making like an average working wage strictly just through their tournament winnings.
And you and I both know that the majority of the 10%ers, majority of their income comes from the sponsorship money and the endorsements.
Right,
that
but
they
I
have.
mean, and you look at the guys who are, Wesley Strader, Van Dam, Drew Benton, Jacob Wheeler, Roy Hawk, Brent Chapman, and Cliff Pace, and Takahiro Mori.
Yep.
So that's, I mean, if that you're planning on coming out and fishing the Elite Series and making money doing that way is not a smart decision.
From an earnings standpoint.
From an earnings standpoint.
But once again, they still...
every time someone covers an entry fee or pays you money or you get your royalties for your baits or anything at all.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised to see, and I knew it was there, but until I started doing this breakdown, Matthew, the discrepancy between winning and second place is fairly large.
Massive. What is it, like 25?
70 grand.
Yeah.
It's 70 grand. And I don't think I've ever asked guys this question, whether or not they would like to
disperse it to where you only win 50 or 60, but the top 10 get paid a lot more.
Yeah.
I think they would go for it.
I don't know.
I think they would. Why wouldn't you? The odds of finishing in the top 10 are a heck of a lot better than winning one.
No, I agree.
If you just drop it down to 50,000 for the win and then distribute that 50,000 through the top 10?
Yeah. Maybe. That's an interesting question to ask. Now, obviously, the guys out there that are...
winners?
Yeah. And have won a lot.
Yeah.
No.
But...
interesting. All right, I'm looking at the instant feedback here. All right. Anything else you can take from that right there, Matthew?
Not many guys who have cashed in all 4.
How many did we determine?
Not that many. Littner.
Look at the list. I don't have.
Well, you don't have the highlighted ones.
Yeah, I do.
No, you're not on the Travis aren't highlighted.
That's because everybody got a check.
Oh, so you're counting everybody?
Yeah.
Who's gotten a check?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Alton Jones Jr. then. Brett Hite, Aaron Martins, Josh Bertrand, Brent Chapman. I mean, it's got to a point where you get down on the list, there's no way you've got anybody.
Huh.
There's not that many guys. That's it.
All right. Not too many guys that have not, and forget about Travis, not too many guys that have not cashed a check in any of the events besides Travis.
Mm-hmm. How about
I haven't even brought that up.
Alton Jones Jr. is having a heck of a year.
He is.
23rd, 35th, 43rd, and then barely missed it, 64th.
Yeah.
He's
agree.
catching them.
Let me pull that back up real quick. There was somebody else too. We mentioned Chapman. Jared Littner is having
a good year.
Very, very solid year. And over where it says totals, let me pull this back up for everybody to where you can see where it says totals right here. All I did was take the sum of the finishes to come up with a number. And then if you resort it, it should match up fairly close to with the Angler of the Year standings.
Now, what's interesting is when you compare that to the FLW winnings of the top guys, you can win more on FLW. Now, they're through 6 events, so no. But with the bonuses and stuff like that, they pay out more, but they pay less in the Angler of the Year at the end of the year.
Interesting.
Because you also have to put into account here, which isn't in it, is the Angler of the Year payout.
Yeah.
Which is a big chunk of money, 12 to 25,000, possible 100,000 at the end of the year that you can add to all these guys.
Yeah.
And that stuff stays in their, well, most of them use it for their entry fee for the next season. But
yeah. No, that's a great point. I do want to point out, we had Bradley Roy on the show a couple weweeks ago before the event. He's obviously dropped down a little bit, dropped down to 5th, but Brent Chapman has opened up a 32-point lead in the AOY race. Do you think he's not an under-the-radar guy?
Definitely.
He just kind of cruises along, takes care of business. And I know we've had him on the show a couple times, but he just you just kind of never notice what he's doing. All right, now I do want to mention one thing about Drew Benton. During your coverage of that event, he was using a zillion different type of things, correct?
Right.
Which kind of was the norm for everybody that was fishing that event, correct?
Correct.
What was so special in the times that you talked to him? What was so special about that area that you mentioned earlier that Marty Robinson was also fishing?
It was a shad spawn was there. The lake is weird. You could catch fish anywhere in it, Mark, but there are just certain. There was really the guys who were able to figure out how to get a 5-pound bite every day, or to get it, were the ones that did good. And he obviously found a marina in an area that had a higher concentration of those bigger fish, and that was what we did a Duck It on tour with Gary Klein. That's going to be coming out, and you'll be able to see in it. That was the hardest thing, were those guys to pinpoint down where they needed to be.
Yeah.
Because they'd catch a big one, then it'd be 30 little ones, and those marinas. And there were a bunch of marinas that a bunch of guys fished with, big jigging spoon, top water, drop shot, finesse bait, wacky worm, swim bait, spinner bait, jerk bait. It was all over the board.
Yeah.
But those marinas seem to have a lot of bigger fish around them and underneath them.
Yeah. All right. One of the final things we need to talk about, it was discussed, and there are some guys that are actually going to the Sabine River this week. Correct, Matthew?
Yeah, so this was a weird deal.
Very weird.
Was that Tripp let the guys know in an email a week before Bass Fest that following Bass Fest on Lake Travis, they could go down and practice on the Sabine River, which was the event that had been rescheduled for Monday and Tuesday following the Lake Travis event, which is like, 11 days before the tournament?
Yeah.
And you can look at his social media. There's a bunch of guys out there on the Sabine River right now practicing. It pissed off a lot of guys.
It did.
Especially
Rightfully
guys
so.
who plan their lives and have a bunch of stuff. I don't understand this at all. It makes zero sense to me why they would just be like, oh, yeah, you can go down and practice for that Monday and Tuesday when clearly there's been a 29-day off-limits period before every tournament there's ever been in the Elite Series. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. I can't figure out any reason why you would do that.
I don't know.
There's no reason.
All right, which I'm going to bring up this question, and this is something to ponder, and whoever we have on the show on Thursday, I want to ask him this. Are we at the point where they should reduce the amount of practice time? Now, hear me out on this. How many stories did you hear this week at Travis about, I caught 8s, I caught 9s, I caught 3 7s during practice,
and then nothing in the tournament. There are guys out there, and I was, let me say this. After one of the northern stops, I spent a day on the lake a couple years ago with Mike McClellan. And I was shooting some stuff with him when we went out to Oneida. And I get in the boat, and there was no tournament that was going on then. He was just kind of fishing around. He had an extra day between the northern stops, and he goes, you want to see what a fishery can be like when it's good before the elite show up and beat the crap out of it for 3 days and then try to catch him for 4 more days? And we went out and just mauled largemouth. Had 20-some pounds. He's like, that's how it'd be everywhere we go. He goes, but we all just beat the thing up before we fish the tournament.
Yeah.
He goes, it makes no sense. I think it would be awesome. And I've heard guys say this, over and over again, is think about how much money you're spending on the 3 days of practice. You're getting there on a Saturday. You're getting everything ready on a Sunday. Then you're fishing Monday. You're fishing Tuesday. You're fishing Wednesday. You're going through 4 tanks, possibly 5 tanks of gas, sometimes more. Mm-hmm. You've got all the extra expenses, the meals, the food, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be cheaper for everybody. I think the fishing would be better. It would be a lot more purer if they just showed up, I think, had half that day, had Wednesday of practice. They practice until 2, morning till 2, go to the freaking meeting, and get after it Thursday.
I want you to do this. I want to see if you can do this at the Sabine River. All right.
Find out how many guys went down before and how many guys did it.
No, that's not what I want. That's cool information. Yeah, if you want to get that, great. But I would like you to survey as many guys as you can and just say, what would you be in favor for? 3 days practice or 1 day of practice?
Okay. Well, I want to look at the top 20 at the Sabine River standings
and
see how many of those top 20 were down there Monday and Tuesday.
It's a great point. And
yesterday and today.
This thing, everybody is saying, and the predictions are, this thing's going to turn into a freaking bumper boat competition, basically.
Bumper boat dink fest. And 6 anglers will get malaria.
Wow. And then they're talking about a tropical storm, too. I don't know if you saw that or not.
At this point, I hope it just downpours. I hope it's 10 feet higher than it was when they canceled it the first time. I got nothing. Every time we've been there, the venue's been great. The people who come out from Orange, Texas, by far one of the top 3 venues to hold an Elite Series tournament. Right there by the river. A lot of challenging, long runs, not easy fishing. A lot of great, knowledgeable fans down there.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to going back.
Hot, muggy, nasty.
Especially in June.
Yeah. Have fun with that one. You and Dave will definitely earn your pay for that week. But I just think as the evolution of this game continues, obviously with all the live stuff, but from a tournament perspective, have we reached the point where 3 days is overkill? Show up 1 day, find what you want to find, get in, get out, get on with it. Let's get after it.
That would be awesome. I think you'd get 80% of the guys who would go for that.
All right, we're going to find out. I want you to see, get as many guys.
I mean, does Bass send surveys out to all their guys about what they would change and stuff? But also, here's also another thing you have to think of. When Bass is booking these venues, Mark, they're saying, hey, this is what we're bringing into your community. This is how much you can bring. And
it's a great point.
We're bringing 110 anglers who are all going to stay at your campground
for a week
and use your gas and stay at your hotels and eat at your restaurants, and they're going to be there Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it's like, oh, they're going to roll into town Tuesday night, be there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and go home, half of them, you're like, nah.
I'm proud of you, man. You're actually looking at it from an economic standpoint. It's a great point.
Had that cross your mind?
It did. It did.
Then why didn't you say anything?
I hadn't got to there yet, man.
We were wrapping up the topic.
Point. I was not.
Okay.
I'm proud of you, though, man. That's kudos to you for bringing up the economic impact of reducing practice to one day.
That's an interesting. Mark in Minnesota says, how about if you let them ride around and graph, but they can't fish?
Yeah, I like it.
I like that a lot.
I like it a lot.
I think you have one day where they can ride and not fish, and one day where they can fish, and that's your practice.
I like it a lot.
Mark, that's a great idea. That's how you do it. You cut out one day of practice. You have a ride. You have a ride around day.
Yeah.
Hell, if you don't want to ride around, you don't have to. And then you have that Wednesday where you can actually fish and practice.
Pass that one around and see what the feedback is. See what they think about that one. All right, should I go ahead and say who's going to be in studio for the loyal listeners?
You sure he's going to show up?
He's already texted me.
All right.
All right, we're going to have James Watson in studio, 11:30 a.m. for a live announcement on something we've been working on for a number of months, and I'm really excited to see what the development is based upon what's going to go down at 11:30. Should be pretty entertaining.
It'll be that.
I hear he's going to make it rain.
He's going to, like he did at the Classic at Grand?
I don't know. So we'll be back at 11:30. James Watson live right here in studio with a special announcement. Live announcement. And I want to thank, once again, Randy Haynes for spending time on the phone on Sunday. Appreciate
old school.
Very old school. Definitely will be.
Has a lot of respect out there. I know that. Yeah. A lot of guys respect him. I
He's
even
the
heard
icon.
Lambert even respected him. He said he's one of the best. He is the best at the ledges.
No doubt. So
and also for Lambert for catching 100 pounds.
It's pretty damn impressive. All right. Worldwide, 11:30 a.m. Central Time right here. Everybody tune in for the special announcement from James Watson, and we're going to announce a couple other things too. So come back, hang with us, 11:30 a.m. Everybody stay tuned.